You are watching the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
Here we are again.
Hey everyone, how are you doing on this Friday afternoon?
Hey guys.
Friday.
So when the last time we did this, the live stream and the last episode that was aired, we didn't know who the official winner of the election is, the U.S. election that happened Saturday, right? It was Saturday after the live stream. So of course, I mean, it seems like so long ago. It's amazing that was just a week ago, right? But of course, Biden has been called, the president-elect. 309 electoral votes at this point in time, more than 5 million plus in the popular vote, 3.4% or so. And it's probably that margin's only going to get a little bit bigger when all the votes are counted. George is doing a recount by hand, but that's unlikely to make a difference in the total. I think Biden's
way
up by
beyond unlikely. It's
14,000 votes or something. So,
zero chance, essentially.
Yeah,
I mean, everything I've read,
zero
they
chance.
say the sway is hundreds of votes if it sways in either direction.
Yeah, right. It's orders of magnitude shy of actually affecting the election in one state, and things would have to all go Trump's way in at least 3 states in order for it to change the outcome of the election. It's just statistically impossible, basically, that would happen, and at the same time, it looks like this is an incredibly secure and smooth running election, right? There's not only zero evidence of any shenanigans, any tampering or anything. This was probably one of the better elections in terms of running smoothly and having no security issues. There's always little hiccups with the elections of this size, but they just did such a great job,
Well, some of the official announcements was that it's the most secure election ever.
Yeah. It's pretty airtight.
Well, they had a relatively new system, right? There was the new ballots.
Yeah.
I didn't research like what states use them or if it was universal or not, but I know that I heard a lot of governors talking about the new systems, and it's hard to give estimates because of the new systems.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, we had an election. There was no, with recounts happening, there was no proof of fraud in any way. I posted on Facebook, if they found anything fishy going on, I wouldn't stand by the election, just like everybody else shouldn't. If one or both sides did anything to manipulate the election, then we would have had a big mess on our hands. But they found nothing legitimate, nothing that stuck, that had any legal bearing whatsoever.
And that despite somebody offered $1 million for any evidence of tampering. Was it the lieutenant governor of Texas or somebody like literally offered $1 million?
Well, yeah, I mean, and Trump's lawyers they're fishing, man. They're looking hard, trying to solicit any, anecdotal reports of anything unusual going on. And they're just coming up with nothing. So they're just presenting one implausible, theory after another. They're so bad. They're like not only being thrown out of court, they're being laughed out of court. I mean, they're just really ridiculous. They don't have any even semi-reasonable legal argument to be making.
I mean, they literally put them on the stand, and the judge says, "Do you have any evidence of fraud or anything like that?" And they're under oath. They're not talking to a reporter. They're under oath. They say no, and he's like, "Okay."
Or one time, the guy said, he presented the evidence that he had, and he said, "This isn't anecdotal." And then he presented like double hearsay
evidence.
Someone heard that somebody heard, and the judge is like, someone heard that someone heard. That's like the very definition of hearsay.
And his argument was, but the person that told us this information heard it. Like it was like just doing circular logic.
Yeah.
And then eventually the judge was
no, it was laughable. It was literally
sorry,
laughable.
there's just no other way. Yeah. I felt a lot of tension lift off, and which is great. Bob, you mentioned the same thing. Like you just feel some of that tension evaporating. And I also feel that fatigue that you get after adrenaline has flooded your system.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like this building adrenaline thing happening, I guess, over the last 6 months, because I'm just like ready to hibernate. I'm so tired, emotionally wiped out from this whole thing. I'm so happy it's over.
Yeah, but it's not over,
Yeah, but it's the election is over. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the biggest hurdle.
We know that there's going to be a post-election party of some kind. There's going to be some type of thing going on whatever degree it is. But I mean, it came and went. It's let's just move forward.
Yeah, but well, I mean, so obviously there is an issue in terms of public acceptance of the outcome of the election and reinforcing the norms of our democracy. As many people have pointed out, the single most important thing about American democracy is that we all adhere to the peaceful transfer of power. And that, as we've discovered over the last 4 years, that as much as anything, it's not so much that it's the law, that it's in the Constitution, but that it's respected. It's a mutual agreement. That when one side wins and the other side loses, the loser says, "I lost. Congratulations." If they're the incumbent, they cooperate with the peaceful transfer of power, and it's over. And then we all come together and agree that this is what happens. And Trump is breaking that. He'll be the first president pretty much to just completely refuse to accept the outcome. And not only just like peevishly not accept the outcome, but to deliberately try to sabotage the public's faith in the election process. So there's certainly just a defending democracy aspect to this. But then there's also a very pragmatic aspect to it, and that he's actually obstructing the transition. And that could have very real implications. That can cost tens of thousands of lives in the pandemic. That can leave us vulnerable internationally to terrorism or whatever. If you recall, the delay in the transition in 2000, to Bush, was blamed as part of the reason why we got caught with our pants down on 9/11.
Yeah, and it led
to specific legislation to say we can't let this happen again.
And that's here we go. And that's the thing that troubles me is during this whole process, we've all contributed to this conversation that the government doesn't have the teeth that we thought it did, and that there's a lot of holes in this system because it's an honor. There's a lot of honor built into this system.
Mm-hmm.
And that's troubling because I guess we don't live in that kind of world at all anymore.
You're
You know,
right.
I didn't realize just how bad it could be. But again, you know, we want Biden and Harris to get in there and save us from the pandemic, and hopefully they'll plug some of these ridiculous gaping holes that our system has. I mean, wouldn't it be great if Congress and the Senate could both do the things that they were supposed to be doing? You know, wouldn't that be amazing if they had they've given away a lot of their power over the decades, and basically let the president do a lot of things. And it's like we gotta take a hard look at the way that things are and the way that they should be, and do something about it to fix these problems. But there's just so much to say, and I'm actually like sick of talking about it at this point. Like Trump lost.
No, I think we said it.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about the pandemic. You know, so the pandemic is hitting. We're breaking records almost every day. You know, we're in the 140,000 new diagnoses a day. Now, when you think about it, like when we were having our summer surge, like we were hitting 40,000, and that was like, oh my God, 40,000. Now we're having 140,000.
Yeah,
it's at a totally new level. You know.
Yeah, and I got to say, I heard Trump speaking just 20 minutes ago, and he is still saying that we're seeing big numbers because we're testing more than any other country, and we have the best tests in the world. That's why we're seeing these numbers. Like,
so, but
kidding me?
This is bullshit.
The implication there is that did we always have these horrendous numbers? I mean, it doesn't follow anything logical, because we look at the death toll year over year death rates, right? You can just compare how many people died in 2018 to 2019 so far in 2020, and we're up. It isn't testing. It's just what?
Did
how
you see what
stupid
Elon?
Do you have to be?
See what Elon Musk said today?
No.
Oh Christ! I mean, look, that guy's great at launching rockets and building cars, but I don't. Why the hell does he say these ridiculous things?
On Friday, Elon Musk said that he in one day took 4 COVID tests called rapid antigen tests and received 2 negative and 2 positive results.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is not specifically Elon Musk, but when you take a test and you get some kind of result, does that officially kind of go into the count? In other words, are there going to be now 4 Elon Musk tests with 2 positive, 2 negative that are going to influence the count here?
No. So again, it's state by state because there's no top-down rules for this. But the general answer is no. But you got to also keep in mind that the rapid test is the fastest, but the absolutely least reliable test.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're trading accuracy for speed.
And how many people of our totals are taking that test?
That's a fairly new test. The one that's primarily being used to like really determine if you have COVID is the PCR test, the one that takes a day or 2 to get back. And the thing is, if you get the positive rapid test, you're not done. They don't just say, oh, good, you have COVID. Then they use that to decide whether or not you get they back it up with the definitive test, right? Then you get they say, you might use it to quarantine, but they don't really count that as a positive test until you get the PCR test, the more accurate one.
Okay, so that's a preliminary test, does not get included.
It's a preliminary quick test. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And and it's not very accurate, which is unfortunate.
So then what's the utility in it if it's not very accurate?
Yeah, I know. It may not really have much. I agree. It may not be accurate enough to really be worth it.
And the false positives, I mean, that isn't like a double bad.
Well, the false negative is worse than a false positive. False positive, they're saying like quarantine yourself. You know, a false negative and you get a false sense of security. That would be a bigger problem. But and of course, the thing is, this is not for people who like are symptomatic or are getting admitted to the hospital. Like, if you get admitted to the hospital, you're not getting the rapid test. You're getting a definitive test.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And the other way we know that it's not testing is because predictably, hospitalizations are increasing behind the testing numbers, and deaths are increasing behind the hospitalizations.
Makes sense.
Testing people doesn't make them fucking die, right? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right, obviously.
At Yale, where I'm working, in the middle, when Connecticut was doing well, we were down to almost no cases of COVID positive in the hospital. And now we're up to 137, I think was today's number.
And what's your capacity?
The spring peak, we were getting 400, 500 cases. So we're starting to head up to those numbers, those spring numbers that were really bad.
Are you better equipped to deal with it now than you were in the spring? In other words, you had to accommodate 400 or 500 people then. If we had to accommodate 500, 600 people now,
I mean, we're better equipped in a lot of ways now. We know how to handle this virus a lot better. Absolutely. We have PPE. The protocols are much stricter even now than the last time I did my inpatient service. I have to wear goggles everywhere. I didn't have to do that before. We've pretty much spread 2 healthcare workers down to almost nothing. But we're starting to see an explosion of inpatient cases now. So,
we will see a concomitant explosion in deaths.
Yes,
in a few weeks.
2 weeks later, yeah.
Right. So my question now, Steve, is sure we're going to see a rise in deaths for sure because so many people are testing positive. But I'm wondering what's the percentage now that are dying? Because now that we have better therapeutics and more experience, I assume fewer people are going to die from this.
The case fatality rate has dropped. It dropped from what was it, something like 3 to 4% down to like 1% or so. So it's a lot better. It's still high. It's still super high, but as infections go, but it's a lot lower. And it's partly, we talked about this on the show, and the answer is still the same. It's partly because the most susceptible people have already died. It's partly because our protective measures are not only decreasing the chance of getting infected at all. If you do get infected, you may get a lower viral load and therefore get a more milder illness. And also that doctors are getting just better at knowing how to treat it. The only and there's no new therapeutic that's really making a difference so far. What the big therapeutic difference is the steroids. And then other than that, it's just knowing how to manage these cases better.
Yeah.
So what are we going to have? We're going to have like a high level of coronavirus for what, next few months?
Yeah.
Like the holidays could make it worse.
Holidays are effed, guys. Just accept
Winter.
it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I know that they're screwed.
We're staying home. We're not doing anything.
I don't even know that we can
much done
do
deal.
anything together. But go ahead, Jay.
I'm just trying to think about what the next 3 or 4 months could look like, because Corona is smacking hard right now.
Yeah.
Like, what would lessen that? Trump has made it very clear as of a few hours ago that he's not going to do any kind of shutdowns whatsoever. So we're basically on the goodwill of humanity. Wear masks.
Well, it's going to
the states. We have the states, Jay.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? What I'm not seeing.
Well, New York just rolled back a bunch. Connecticut had some rollbacks recently to more stringent measures. They're adjusting as it modulates.
They're starting to tick back. Connecticut went back one phase or whatever the number is, and I for one am getting ready for a full lockdown. I think worst case scenario is you have a couple of months worth of toilet paper in your house, but I'd rather have that happen now than after it's clear that it's already happening. So this is good. This is the third, and by far is going to be the worst surge. Looking at the world as a total and the country as a total, maybe not for Connecticut because that spring New England Northeast surge was kind of an anomaly. We got hammered, and so that hopefully will still be the worst thing that we experience in our part of the country. But it wouldn't surprise me if we get there again. The numbers are heading in that direction, and so we just have to be ready. And
too bad we didn't predict it. Nobody predicted this, right? Who could?
Sylvia Brown did.
This was coming in the winter.
Years ago. Sylvia Brown, supposedly.
Our governor has been pretty proactive, so I think that it wouldn't surprise me.
We're close to New York, so in a lot of ways we kind of have to do what New York does. Close to it.
That was sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, we got that. And the evidence is showing, guys. The evidence is showing that what's driving this surge is people not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Non-compliance?
It's
Oh my gosh, here's my
non-compliance,
shocked face.
And this is very disconcerting.
Disgusting.
It's small family get-togethers are driving a lot of this.
Well, sure, because
people think, hey, we're at phase 2 or whatever. We're at the point now we can get together in small groups, and the people getting together, they're not being really good about wearing a mask or whatever, and it's just spreading like wildfire.
Yeah, so but Steve, Trump said during the debates we were turning a corner. I mean, what's
yeah, you're right. Happened? I know. Just in the wrong direction. So unfortunately, I think we have to go back to like really staying in our silos, not getting together, try to ride through this. And it's going to be right over the holidays. So these holidays are effed. I don't see any other way about it. Yep. We already canceled our plans to go to my mother-in-law's house, and
we were going to go to Denver too.
Steve, that must be killing you.
Whatever, it's actually fine. I don't mind that taking that time off. But
I tease.
I know,
right.
but I when we're not out of town, we always get together locally for Thanksgiving. I don't even know if we're going to be able to do that, or maybe we need to do it in 2 groups instead of 1 group. I don't know. Have to think about.
My family's already decided we're not doing any holiday gatherings.
So not to be a pain in the ass here, but like we have the 12-hour show.
Yeah.
Scheduled for January 23rd. I mean, between you, me, and you guys and everyone listening, it's not going to be much of a show if we're not together.
It will be fine, Jay. Don't say that. It'll be fine. So worst case scenario is like the pandemic is kicking on that date. And if we have to do a Zoom, stream event, we'll do it and it'll be fine. The content will be exactly the same. It won't have the same vibe as when we're all in the same room together. I agree with that, but we will make do. People are used to this, and it'll work just fine. We're still going to have all the interviews that we're going to do. We're going to have all the same bits, the same games. We went over the content last night. The list is shaping up, and it's great. I think it's going to be a really fun event. Yes,
I'm working on.
Be.
It's possible that we might be able to. Maybe I'm working on this right now, but there is a very large studio that's about an hour from all of us, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That we potentially could use for that event. And it's so big that we all could be 20 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
And we could do it.
The one in Waterford?
It's up near Hartford.
Oh, okay.
And, as a backup, that might not be a bad idea. I mean, Steve, because to me, you're the biggest vector because you work in a hospital, and who the hell knows what they're going to ask you to do in January. If the shit hits the fan, you might have to be a frontline worker.
Yeah, very unlikely. It didn't happen in the spring. I was on the list to be called up as necessary. What's likely to happen is that my colleagues who specialize in like neuro ICU may need to take care of COVID patients, and then I will need to cover their other duties, which could include inpatient duties. So the worst case scenario is I'd have to do another inpatient stint, in January. Now I'm doing one right now, completing mine for the year. So I shouldn't have to, but I didn't have to do it in the spring, so I think it's probably unlikely that I'll have to do it this winter. But even still, I'm in the hospital. When I'm done with this 2-week stint, I'm going to have to get tested because I'm taking care of COVID patients, and they're all over the place. And just yesterday, they're like, oh, that patient, it's like, well, he tested positive for COVID, and there was an outbreak on this ward that we were on the other day. And it's you know what I mean? We're sort of behind the times a little bit. You're always 2 weeks behind the reality in terms of like knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
So as bad as it is now, it's actually worse than what we know it is right now.
Yep.
Like what the numbers are going to be in 2 weeks, those are the cases that are actually spreading right now. So I'm totally a vector. Jay, you're a vector because your kids may be back in school at some point between now and then?
No, they called it.
Oh, they called it till when?
Yeah. So what happened was they said that they were going to have them go back between now and Thanksgiving. They said that they split the kids up. So like half the kids go for 2 days.
Yeah.
Then they have a remote day. And then the other half of the kids go back the other 2 days. So my wife and I talked about it. We're like, okay, let me get this straight. COVID is spiking. and they want us to send our kids back to school for 2 days right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Well,
There's just no way.
those 2 days is not worth it.
It's not worth it. I mean, there's just absolutely not worth it. Then they were saying that there was going to be like a variable type of schedule until Christmas, like that. Sometimes it'll be this, sometimes it'll be that, and we're just like, I mean, what I mean, if I let the kids go to school right now, we're all completely COVID free. The only thing that's ever happened is like a short supermarket visit. If I let my kids go back to school, I don't see our 83-year-old mother on any holidays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
lousy.
It's not worth it.
It's awful.
I'm not
yeah.
doing
So
that.
there's a case at my daughter's high school, and they're having a public meeting tomorrow to decide whether or not to shut down through the holidays, which
Hopefully
I suspect is probably going to happen. They just want the parents to be in on the decision so they can't complain too much. But I think that's what they're having the meeting because they're like, we're going to be shutting down for the holidays. Yeah. And here's your chance to complain.
And also, I mean, that's the way things are right now. I mean, you get people going back, and if the density of COVID gets too high, like it's going to go into the schools again. It's going to be there.
Totally. But for me, it's different. Like for I was a senior in high school. She loves the online learning. She'd rather do that than go into class.
My daughter's been online learning since 6th grade. So
yeah, so she'll be fine.
No difference for her, none.
She's independent on that, and she's fine. For you, Jay, you have 2 kids that you have to sit and hold their hand and keep them paying attention, and it's a nightmare.
That's such a tough age. Oh my gosh, that's the hardest age for that.
Yeah, but Jay, I talked to my daughter Ashley, and she's my daughter. But she's coming, dude. It's a done deal. I'm sure she told Courtney already. She's coming from the. Go ahead.
Ashley and her boyfriend Cormac are going to live with us for a few months to cover this gap, but they're not going to be here for 3 weeks. And I got a job to do. Half of these COVID patients are broken. I don't. It's going to really suck. It's going to really suck. I've already, my wife and I literally just talked today, and we're like, well, we'll put the kids to bed, at 7:30, and then we'll work for 3 or 4 hours each.
Yeah,
you guys have to work. That's it. I work on
weekends. It's a huge shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite.
Take a bite.
I'm going to Steve's house on Sunday to work for the 12-hour show. I just got to do it on weekends and after hours. What can I do?
Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about murder hornets. Evan, you were talking about the fact that they found
hornets. Yeah,
in that nest, they found a nest on the board in Washington State on the border of Canada, but in the United States. And this is the one that they used the radio tracker to find it. So I was looking it up, Evan. So they said that they found 200 queens in the nest. So when they cracked open that tree where the nest was, there was a huge nest in there, and there were like 78 virgin queens and then another 120 pupa with virgin queens in it. They said that one nest
ticking time bomb
could have distributed basically 200 other colonies. That's what would have happened if it was left undisturbed, and they got to it just in the nick of time.
Wow.
So of course, if there's one more nest like that out there.
But so let me ask a bunch of questions. I don't know if you guys have the answers. I don't know if anyone in the audience has the answers. So from my understanding, the way bees operate, and I know that they're different, of course, but I'm just going to share some knowledge that I have, that they'll grow a bunch of queens, and then one of them will be the winner.
Yeah.
And then they'll kill the other ones. And there's
apparently, they said there is one queen, but the virgin queens, they don't get killed. They just go and make another colony.
Right. Yeah. They expand the colony. They expand the world.
So they said literally this could have spawned something like 200 independent colonies if they didn't knock it out.
Jay, have you ever heard of insect politics or bee politics?
No. What do they do?
Because there is none. That's from The Fly. Goldblum, Jeff.
And you know what? They searched for this nest. This was not, I was wandering and happened to come across it. They had to actively search for this thing. Imagine if they didn't search for it. That would have been it.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the clue that there was a nest? Like, what was the indication?
There were individual sightings of dead and a couple of live bees. And so they said, okay, well, let's find one that's alive. We'll radio tag it. We'll follow it back to its nest. And so they did. That's what they did.
Smart.
So, yeah, it was based on prior sightings.
Radio tagged a bee?
Yeah.
How small was that tag?
Teeny
Well, it's a
tiny.
big bee.
It's
You've
a
seen the
big
size of these
hornet.
things? These are big things.
Yeah, the giant Asian hornet. They're big.
Yeah.
But the radio tag was small.
Not a honeybee.
Why don't they CRISPR them to have some deadly flaw or something? You know what I mean?
I could see that happening someday, right? Wouldn't that be a way of controlling certain invasive
Gene
species?
drive them to death. Yeah.
Bean them out. You would.
Well, they're
Right.
invasive, so we just want them to die. We don't. There's no hole to fill. They're not feeding anything that doesn't have other food. You
Yeah,
know?
they're just wiping out our native insects. So
Yeah,
they're an invasive
their only role is to kill things.
they're an invasive species. That would
Yeah.
be disruptive. Except as we talked about recently on the show, like in Asia where they exist naturally, some of the native populations of like the Japanese honeybee have evolved defenses like the bee ball against them, but our bees don't have any natural defenses. It'd be bad. It'd be very bad.
Why don't we get some of their bees over here and they can teach our bees to play bee ball?
Yeah, no,
We
we may
can
have to. We may have
We'll
to
CRISPR
transfer
our bees.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We
Some-
cannot
so they
have a CRISPR gap.
We could have a bee ball gap.
So we don't know it's the only nest, to answer some questions
Yep.
I'm seeing in
Yeah,
the
that's
chat.
true.
We're just hoping that it is. The Asian giant hornets probably got here riding along on boats or whatever. They were what we call accidentals. They hitched a ride somehow.
Yep.
Well, I have never seen one. I hope to never see one. And how bad is it to get stung by one of these guys?
It's like
Is it
getting hit with a sledgehammer, somebody said. It's like
Oh, God,
really
yeah.
painful. Probably not going to kill you, but it'd be bad.
You'll
Well,
know
if it's-
something bad
if-
happened.
It could give you a heart attack if it's that painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a guy. Did I mention this to you guys? It was one of those
Yes.
nature shows, whatever. These idiots, they do these ridiculous things to get people to watch them. He let a bunch of ants, like I forget what ants they were. That's the only freaking thing I can't remember. But it was like the most painful ant sting in the world. And
Fire
he let
ant? Is it fire ant?
a ton of them sting his hands. And it destroyed this guy for a day. I mean, emotionally, physically, like the pain that he went through was
Wow.
debilitating. And of course, there was not
Just
much
a-
they could do for him,
Yeah, just a way to show, just a demonstration to see how
Yeah.
awful it is to other people.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
one-
extreme, but
horrible. I mean, but it was
effective.
just a really hard thing to watch too. And you just get to the point where you're like, why the hell would you do that to
You
yourself?
seen those floating ant islands when there's a flood? You
Yeah.
know, like in
Yeah, it's
Texas,
cool.
you see how the ants make a floating
raft.
island.
Yeah.
You say, oh my gosh, that's scary and a real danger. They say.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So,
bugs are resilient little pests.
2020 was by all measures, and just
still is.
interviewing all the friends and family in my life, there isn't anyone that I haven't asked this question to that said this isn't the worst year of my life. It is by far, I think, the worst year of most people's lives that had, especially in the US, that had to deal with all the crap that we have going on
I
here.
won't say the worst year. It was probably the most stressful year. I admit
Contextually,
it was
yeah.
high stress. I sort of couldn't help myself. I was following that election so damn closely.
But how was that make it not the worst year? I mean, the year that we lost Dad, that was bad.
Yeah,
But
the year that we lost Perry was
spiked.
bad. I just don't want to
It's-
compare this to a year where somebody close to me died. Is why, honestly, why I would say
I
that.
know,
Yeah.
but you can measure the aggregate. You can try to put some type of measure on the aggregate stress and how were you feeling? How
Yeah.
well was your health? How happy were you throughout that span of time?
It was a stressful year. It was absolutely a
Horrible,
very stressful year.
horrible. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. I've looked forward to year changes before, but I need there to be a line in the sand, a virtual line in the sand, to just kind of try to push this behind us somehow.
Mhm.
I'm just hoping that 2021 isn't just more of the
Vaccine,
same.
man. Here comes the vaccine.
Vaccines coming.
Vaccine.
They'll by the end of the year they'll have 50 million doses.
Steve, are you going to get in the first round or no?
I don't know. I mean, I might.
They haven't
because
announced who's
I'm
gonna
a
get
hospital
first, right?
worker. I think
Yeah, I would
it's
hope
probably
so.
going to be more direct. People who are more directly involved with COVID management, and I think nursing home residents and
Mm-hmm.
workers will probably be the first of the first, and then probably just general healthcare workers. So I might be like in the second batch, I would suspect.
So what about people like the rest of us here? Like, are you talking like
Then
late
it's going to
20
be by, I think, probably by your
Summer?
susceptibility.
Oh,
But,
well, yeah.
but probably by the end of the year. You'll be able to, by the end of 2021.
Now, here's something I haven't heard. How long do they expect the vaccine to have the
We
antibodies?
don't,
We'll put one.
to last, we don't know.
Nobody knows.
God, that sucks because that could mean like it's a 3-month trip, and we don't
I
have.
mean,
the
hopefully it'll be
vaccine.
at least a year.
Yeah.
It'd be more than that would be fantastic. If it's less than a year, that would kind of suck.
But
Yeah.
why would it be a year if actually catching COVID doesn't give people immunity for a year?
Well, we don't know that it doesn't give immunity for a year. And it seems to be variable. I've read conflicting information. Some people get immunity for at least 5 months and counting. So, but other measures show that the antibodies drop off quickly in other people. So we don't, at this point, we're still following.
There's still
it
so many
closely.
questions about this
Yeah.
thing.
What's the best case scenario, Steve?
I don't know what the
Life-
best
lifetime
case
Is
antibodies?
it 5 or 6 months?
Well, yeah,
Is that
lifetime is the
case?
best
Lifetime
case scenario.
antibodies.
Yeah, come on, don't. He's saying based
Realistically,
on
I think realistically, we're just hoping that they're going to last for a year.
Right, so it can become part of our regular vaccination
Like the flu
schedule
vaccine.
annually.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
I'll live with that. I'll take that. I sign up for that right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank God for Instacart. That's all I got to say.
Evan,
Are they
quick
a
follow
new
up on a
sponsor? What?
No,
Yes.
I'm just saying.
quick
I mean, I've
follow
used
up on
it.
a news item that you did recently about the probe landing on collecting debris from the comet.
Oh yeah.
It
Collected
basically
too much, right?
completely overfilled its container.
Oops.
So no, which is fine. It was like I think it was having trouble closing or something because it was like overfilled.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
But it's good, and now it's on its way home. So I think we got.
Oh, good. So it
yeah.
didn't have to do. They did have 2 scheduled additional attempts ready to go in case the first grab didn't grab enough material.
Yeah.
I guess I had heard about it grabbing effectively too much material on the
You're
first
exactly.
go around. But
Yeah,
that's good. So we're gonna know
overflowing
soon.
Yeah.
It'll be back home relatively soon.
Yes, asteroid Bennu. Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Anything else happening in the world that we want to talk about?
No, I'm trying to just kind of reset myself to how I absorb news. I'm like trying to like stop. So I've been avoiding
Read
the
the
news
science,
pretty much.
science.
Yeah, I am. You're right, Ev.
Yeah, that's what I focus on. That's where I go. Lose myself there.
I cleaned out a corner of the basement because there
Proud
were
of
these
you.
Sweet.
long skinny tables down there. It was like a workshop with pegboards. So I cleaned that out, spick and span, and I'm going to bring all my tools down there. This is going to be my workshop. I'm excited. Don't you laugh, Jay? I'm excited
laughing
about
because
that.
you reminded me of the Turkey Boys.
Yeah.
Well,
Could I bring my tools?
Tools.
Should I bring
I can't help it. I'm like, I just have it memorized.
So yeah, there's
slap
a
each
lot
other
of
with the hot mops?
there's a lot of projects. We're doing a special costume type thing for Dragon Con this year in 2021. Steve, should we
Hopefully.
even say the topic?
Bob, somebody said you're cleaning out some skeletons from your closet.
Yeah,
I mean,
keep it in the closet.
I don't know if we're going to still do that next year. That
Why?
was sort of the plan for this year. We probably will.
This year. Well, you got to let me know because I got a lot of work.
He's
to
got
do.
I
tables to
haven't, Bob.
move,
I haven't
Steve.
even thought about Dragon Con next year.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, how much thinking does it
Very
take?
likely, Bob. It's not happening, dude.
I already
Why?
received my acceptance for
What do you mean,
2021. Did you guys get yours?
No.
I didn't apply. I don't think.
If
you
you
don't-
applied for 20, supposedly you were supposed to be automatically reinvited
Oh,
for
they
2021.
they just automatically.
and I got mine about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't get
Automatic.
anything.
Oh, okay, you should. I'll forward you mine so you can check in with those guys and have them
So
sign you
you-
up.
All right, so you don't want to do it ever. So that's it. It's
No.
done.
Bob, we just don't know about COVID, dude. What the hell?
Well,
are we
of
gonna
course, of course.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, you're making it sound like it's not a good idea anymore. I think it's an awesome idea. All right. Well, I'll put that on the back burner then. I won't work on that first.
Oh, we should talk about it at some point. But yeah, we're and again, so yeah, the idea is to do a Borg evangelists for Dragon Con. That can happen at some point, even if it's not next year. It would still
Yeah.
be fun.
I mean, Bob, we'll prep as if it's going to happen, and we'll play it smart and safe. I mean, there's no way I'm going to go to an event with 100,000 people if COVID is still
Of course not.
slinging
No,
around. you know?
prep as if it's going to happen. That's all I needed to know. Now I will prep.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Evan-
so it is quarter of. Let's do Evan's puzzle, and then
Yeah, I
we'll
was gonna
click
say.
over. Let's click over to the quiz. So go ahead, Ev.
This week's puzzle was supplied by a listener this week, Jeff Fitzsimmons. So first time I'm using somebody else's puzzle. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate this one.
Cool.
And there have been several correct guesses, which I'm very, very happy to say. Both I've been seeing some on Facebook and obviously on our Discord. Some people kind of got this. Do you guys, Novellas 3, have any idea?
I have a guess.
Yes.
I
Jay.
did not read anybody's guesses. This is literally coming only from my head. Is
Okay.
this all the different types of ways that you could be like a meat eater, a not meat eater, a plant eater, a semi-plant eater, an egg eater, an egg beater? What is this?
I like that guess. It's not correct, but I do like that guess. But
I saw a lot of the V's. And
VG, vegan,
yeah.
right? Yeah. M for meat, or whatever you got.
I only eat milk from animals that have no legs. I don't know, whatever.
But it starts on the top with the letter. Where am I here?
PP.
Letter P in red. See it there?
Yes.
Then P-FR, FR-G, then G.
Yeah, there's a
G,
progression
and so forth.
there, which makes it seem like it's a scale of some
It is a
kind.
scale. Uh-huh. And what would it
VG
be?
could be
Scales
very
measure
good,
things. We
very
know
good,
that.
very fine. Or some
Right.
obvious
And when you
ones.
think about those things, you're thinking about
So
Does
the
FVF stand
NM
for
seems
fat,
to be the
very
most
fat?
specific one, and that could be near mint. if you're
near
talking
mint,
about
correct.
coins.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It
whoa,
is.
Steve, good
So
job.
P, the worst is poor, and NM is near mint, and everything is the grades in between. And what are we measuring, though?
Coins, right?
The quality of.
I don't know if it's coins, but in this particular puzzle,
Comic books?
yes, comic books.
Oh my
books.
God,
Yep.
that is awesome.
Comic books.
Look at
I
all
was
the
going to
different
give a
levels they
hint,
have.
but I think it would have given it away early. No groaning in my store.
So,
It would have been too much of a giveaway.
so like the G for good is GVG mean good, very
Good to
Very
very
good.
good, very good. What's VGF? Very good to fine is VGF.
Yeah.
Letter F is
Then
fine.
Then fine to
Then
very
fine,
fine.
very fine,
very fine.
very fine,
To near
very fine
mint.
near mint, and near mint. I expected there to be a mint, but apparently, maybe that's a super special class
near mint
reserved
is-
for something
All right,
like
that's cool.
Cool.
the original die or whatever, or the original
I
printing or whatever.
wasted my life.
I love
So
things
Jim,
like
thank you
that.
again. It was a good puzzle.
You know, when you see stuff like that, if you're not a comic book collector, which I'm not, it shows you that there is so much going on that you don't have anything to do with. Like there's,
Yeah.
people living their lives and like they're,
There's a
I just-
subculture, a deep subculture
Yes.
for anything. And yeah, whatever you get
And I love-
into.
And I love seeing that because, even if it's something that
great.
you just like don't understand how you could focus so much time and energy on something, it doesn't matter, because I like it when people are passionate about things. If they're not passionate about anything, to me, that's just like, all right, something's wrong. Something really is wrong, because that's part of what life is all about, is finding your passions and running with it and just taking it as far as you can or want to do. So that's great. Whatever you're passionate about.
Absolutely, I agree.
I try not to judge. Sometimes it's hard, but I try not to judge at all when it comes to that stuff.
We received something recently from an SGU listener in an email, and let's just say I think it showed some passion, which I think we're going to talk about in a future date, so I won't spoil it now, but it was impressive.
Just say it was 640 pages of impressiveness.
so we're really going to wait to tell people. It's,
No, we could tell them.
Yeah, that's called a tease, Jay. You got to build it up, you gotta get it going. You want to tell them?
So we received an unbelievably complete
Compendium.
document that had every statistic that you could imagine about the SGU podcast.
It's about the first 800 episodes.
Of the first 800 episodes. So like everything from like a list of every year over year, what were the list of guests and how many times did those guests appear on the show? How many what topics did we discuss? Which Ian and I are going to take that information and put it right into the website. I'm going to email the person who sent it. He didn't say whether or not he wanted us to say his name, but if you're listening, Thank you so much. That was so unbelievable. But we scanned the first couple of dozen pages. There was another 550 pages after that.
Of pure data on our
I browsed the
on
whole
our
thing.
show.
But yeah, so there's definitely pieces in there that are going to be really useful. Like people have asked us, do you guys have a list of all your topics? Like I want to know if you've ever covered X. Well, now we could have an actual index of every topic we were talked about. You look it up and there's the episode it was on. So that's so it could be useful for stuff like that. Really amazing that he
And this was
basically
one listener who
he
did
listened from show 1 through 800 and wrote down this as he was listening. He documented.
Took him
everything.
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
I think he went through everything twice, and he was trying to hit the 800 show mark, which he did.
Right.
So, the other cool thing is it lists all of the quotes. It lists all of the noisies. It actually gives like every record date and every launch date of every podcast, which I like that kind of data. It's just mind blowing. Like
there's some other interesting pieces of data in there as well. It's broken out by year, the number I think of guests we've had, and it expresses it at a percentage of like how many shows had a guest versus didn't. So actually, it's good internals for us to kind of see these kinds of patterns, and we may want to make some adjustments or be aware of certain things that maybe we weren't aware of.
Yeah. I also think, if I saw it correctly, again, you probably saw, Steve, did he have a visual of who was talking when in the podcast?
He had a visual of who was introduced first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
there was a couple of diagrams in there. I didn't look at them long enough to know I forget what they were doing, like science or fiction order or whatever, things like that. I just sort of made a visual guide to it. But we will pull out the most useful parts and put them on the website.
There's also a page in there with how many times Bob said hello.
Once.
Still my favorite.
So start, if you want to ask us questions today, you could start putting them in there so Ian can see them. Ian, do you want them to preface the question with anything to catch your eye, or you're just reading everything?
I just read and pick whichever ones seem like topics you want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's pop over to
The quiz.
To the quiz. We have a themed quiz today, and the theme is astronomical type things.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
My guess is that
Literally,
Bob will get all of these questions correct.
Again, the link is darkenergy.games, everyone.
Bob,
It's always a good
remember the
assumption,
code.
right?
Remember the code we came up with. If it's the third answer, you go like this. If it's the first one, you tap with this finger.
So we're working on
at
something
the
as well.
code.
I'll tell you guys. So Frank, who is the developer of the game that you're about to do, it's still funny, right?
Every time, I can't not smile.
So Frank said a couple of things. One, he said that he had deployed an update to the quiz where if you want to play the quiz after the live stream is over, you can. So if you're listening to the live stream after, like right now, if you're listening to the live stream and it's the next day or whenever, you could go to, what's the link again, Ian? darkenergy.games.
Yep.
And then you could play the game along with the podcast, along with this live stream. So that's fun. So I really appreciate Frank doing that, because I told him that people were requesting it. I think someone literally just emailed us like the day that he said he completed the code. The other thing that he's working on is that we are going to, during the 12-hour show, going to have an SGU leaderboard. We're working out all the details on the quizzes that we're going to give you guys during the 12-hour show. But what will happen is you will create an account on the game, and then you will have, I'm hoping that we could have little icon avatars and stuff, but that might be pushing it too far. But we will definitely be able to track everybody's quizzes that they take. And there can be only one, Ev.
Only one.
There can be only one person chosen as the 12-hour live stream winner of the series of quizzes that we're going to be doing.
Oh, wow.
So this is what will happen. We will take the top people, whoever get the highest score. If there's more than one, then we will randomly pick one of those people. Or if I don't know, we might maybe have a quiz off on them. I don't know. Steve and I have to talk about it. We want to keep things simple and not have things become too complicated, but somebody will win the quiz. Mm-hmm. And then Steve and I are going to come up with something that they will get, which might be something that it could be a t-shirt.
A Laurel and Hardy
more than that t-shirt.
Yes. But I will guarantee you that it will not be me mailing you anything. Because I don't do that anymore. I just want to make that perfectly clear. But I am moving over to a new print-on-demand swag company who we've used extensively, and I know that it's going to be great, unlike previous times that we've tried to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's coming, which I'm very excited about. So good. And what else are we doing on the 12-hour show, Steve?
All kinds of stuff. We're going to do this might depend on the COVID situation, where we were hoping to do a cooking segment, a taste test, and we're going to we talked about the quizzes. We're going to have several interview guests. The guests will be doing fun stuff, not just chatting with us, not just doing an interview. We're going to have each one's going to have their own special bit. And then we're going to have a lot of good science and skeptical content in there as well, and unusual stuff, not the same old stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna. It's very likely that the cooking will be me and George doing our meatball cook-off, with the goal being to feed you guys. So we'll be cooking meatballs. I'll probably be making a sauce and pasta for you guys as well.
I'm gonna make a dish too.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like maybe when
I think all of the
oven.
Everybody should either make something or bring something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I know. I happen to know that Bob makes excellent fried chicken. Right, Bob?
Yeah. I did that one
time. The Colonel taught him everything he knew.
Still remember it, don't you?
Somebody
was tasty.
In the chat said something horrible. They said make veggie balls. No. Sorry.
Make impossible.
Well, Jay,
meatballs.
that would be a good taste test, though. If we did not only your meatballs, but like impossible meatballs and other veggie meatballs, and just see how they.
I mean, I would not shy away from trying to make impossible meatballs, but I'd have to practice beforehand because I have no idea how they would behave. I just don't know if they would behave like meat or not. Can I, how would it have to be cooked? I don't know. I'd have to try. It might not play well with the oven. I don't know.
Yep.
All right, let's do this. You guys, Ian, you think we're ready?
Yeah, we have about 450 people in.
All right.
So when I count down,
it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, we'll do the synchronize when I count down. And
don't forget, you can turn these sound effects, the game show music on. If you scroll down on the page, you'll see sound effects beta. Mm-hmm. And George Robb he wrote this music.
And remember, we're synchronizing so that we're timed to the live stream. Not everybody's synchronized together, but so that you're watching at the same time. If it says something like too late, just play along with what's happening on the screen, even though the live stream will be delayed. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, click.
Got it. 0 seconds.
Every week.
So talented.
Proud of you, Evan.
I thought we didn't do that.
Means nothing on our end, but that's okay.
I don't know. It's just a little thing that makes me smile.
Press the button, get the reward. Pavlov, dog, move along.
I love how everybody puts their seconds in. It just cracks me up.
While we're waiting for people to still click, there was a question about the Pfizer vaccine and how significant, practicality-wise, is it that they require negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit conditions?
We might talk about that on the show tomorrow.
We do.
Right?
Yeah, that'll be on the show that's coming out tomorrow. It's not that big a deal. It's only for transport, because once it gets to the doctor's office or the hospital, you can just put it in the refrigerator for 3 days.
Yeah.
And but if you want to store it for more than 3 days, it has to be at the negative 80 Celsius or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's
So
it's
do we
not
have the
optimal.
infrastructure for this? I mean, what?
Yeah.
How do you maintain negative 80? Like you need like an unbelievable special refrigerator.
Freezer. Yeah. No, there are freezers. There are freezers that could do that.
But it's not standard at all.
Enough though.
What does a regular
Not in the
home
home,
refrigerator freezer go? Is that negative? Like is that 30 degrees.
Like
or
in your
they go down to
home?
50 Yeah, we go down
Like
to
-2?
15 degrees. Okay.
-2, but then like if you're in a lab, labs usually have like regular freezers that go to negative whatever, -2, -4. They have -40
Celsius,
freezers.
right?
They have -80 freezers for biological
Yeesh.
stuff. So this is like pretty much the high end freezer.
Hey, Charlie, go into the -80 freezer and pull out the water.
Give me those.
Like,
Give
I
me
want
those.
to go in there.
Get me those Beyond Burgers that I put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes 7 days to thaw out.
All right, let's do this.
All right, here we go. We're going to start the game, and away we go. What was the first planet to be discovered using the telescope? Jupiter, Uranus, Mars, Saturn?
It better be this one.
What do you think, Bob? Don't say the answer, but do you feel like you know it?
Yeah.
I feel like I know it.
100%. Yeah,
did
because
put-
the other three are naked eye visible.
Exactly.
There's information in there, Ian, if you want to read it.
Yeah, I just want to wait till, because somebody said that they heard us give the answer before it ended. So let me just
Okay.
Not this
give
time.
it to that. When Uranus, the seventh planet from the sun, was discovered in 1781, it expanded the known limits of our solar system.
Yeah, it's a
Dun,
lot
dun,
farther away
dun.
than Jupiter.
Here we go.
Wow.
Okay, what is the world's largest existing meteorite? Willamette, I think, Mbazi, Cape York, or Hoba?
Where's my D4?
I think a lot of these are named after the place that they were found.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I have info on this one as well, Ian.
I got that wrong. I got it wrong, Jay.
Guess. Total guess.
What'd you guess, Bob?
Cape York.
Yeah, that's what I guessed too. I think Cape York's the world's largest non-existing meteorite. So
Yeah, the answer was Hoba, discovered in Namibia by a farmer plowing his field in 1920. It's 66-ton iron meteorite, or it is a 66.
They are
No.
amazingly dense and
Yeah,
no
they
wonder
are.
his team of oxen couldn't move it or whatever.
Okay, next one is, which of these 4 planets is not a terrestrial planet? Earth, Mars, Mercury, Saturn.
Too easy, Bob?
All right. Let's
that
see.
one-
Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. That's not on the list.
That one was super easy. Yeah.
It was
Actually-
easy, but I like it because it's interesting.
I think in an early episode of SGU, we actually talked about the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
I think we
can't-
did. I remember something about
Wasn't
that.
it first year we talked about that author?
I quick,
yeah,
Ian.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a
A
crank,
terrestrial
right?
planet is mostly made of rock and metal. Nice. The terrestrial planets are the inner 4 nearest to the sun.
That's
Oh,
right.
my daughter loves rock and metal. Cool.
Rock. Nice. Good job.
Ah, Ian, gotcha.
I was, yeah, okay, I'm with you. Next question. On which astronomical object would you find the Sea of Tranquility? Earth's moon, Mercury, Venus, the sun.
That's easy.
You should have had Mars as a wrong answer, Jay, because that has a lot of named features, you know.
Mare,
Yeah,
they're called
you're
the
right.
Mare.
Yeah, the
of,
Mare. Well, the Mars
Yeah,
are
so-
on the moon, but yeah.
Yeah,
well,
that
they
one is,
have- don't they have Mares on Mars as well?
Yeah, they-
I thought they did.
they
Where's my
probably
Mars
do.
globe?
So the
I used to have
smooth
them.
dark patches on the moon is referred to referred to as seas or
Because-
Maria
right,
in
they-
Latin.
It
Maria-
means sea.
yeah.
They thought they were actual seas.
One of the
Right.
largest and best known is Mare Tranquillatus.
Sea of
Is that what
Tranquility,
that's
or
spelled?
the Eagle
Yeah.
has landed.
Okay. It is the Apollo 11 lunar landing.
The Eagle has barely landed.
go ahead, Ian.
Next one is, which planet's moons are named in translation Fear and Dread? So is it Mars, Neptune, Mercury, or Jupiter?
Oh gosh, I think it's this one, but
They got it right because it's.
yeah.
Well, I didn't know what that they were
I did.
translated from those other words.
I remember that. I
but
think Carl
Phobos
Sagan
and
talked
Deimos.
about it.
Yeah.
Prob- the process of
Mars
of
has 2
elimination.
moons, so right. You have to
Phobos,
figure,
yeah, but Deimos means dread. I mean,
And Mars
what
is the
other
god of
what
war.
other planet has 2
Right.
moons? No,
Mars
Well,
is
Jay,
named
yeah,
for
you
the god
should-
of war.
You should have
Exactly.
warned it. Which planet has moons named Fear and Dread?
Yeah, Jay, your fault.
You wouldn't imply that
Poor
it only has
Jay.
2 moons.
good job, though, Jay.
I put a
It's
lot of
fine.
extra work in.
I'm glad.
If you would
Glad
just
you did that,
appreciate
Jay.
me.
I just got the meteorite one wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was the Willamette because that was the only one I recognized.
Yeah, what I found out
I
when
almost chose that one too.
when I looked into those, I found out, oh yeah, I don't know much about meteorites because I was like, oh, I probably recognize a bunch of the names. I didn't recognize any of them.
Okay, all you Discord people, 100%. Yeah. I get it.
Let's see.
Good job. Well done.
All right, let's hit the stop game. Now it seems like everybody's caught up.
Meteorites.
See, Benjamin Wilson appreciates me.
100%.
He said it in
Very
the
good.
chat, Steve.
Wilson.
My own brother, you know?
Proud of you.
Let's see how people did. So the SGU, what did we do? We did 80%.
We all got the meteorite one wrong.
And look at all the 100% out there. Good job, guys.
Nice,
good job.
guys.
Very good.
Well
Lots
done.
of 80s, ton of 80s. And let's go to the bottom. Somebody in Costa Rica did the test and probably didn't answer any of the
I think they
questions.
had connection issues or something.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's an outlier.
So as I've been telling you guys, I have been quiz testing. So you might have noticed that this quiz was a little bit easier than other ones. I just wanted to get a feel.
Calibrating.
I'm calibrating
Yeah.
myself because we're going to be doing a lot of this.
Calibrate yourself.
You know, like even though, like as an example, the question I liked the most was the Sea of Tranquility one because it's something that I know people heard, and it's in your head. But you know, how sure are you of the answer? I think the older you are, the better you are at knowing that
yeah.
one in particular because you know we were alive when the Apollo missions were happening. Okay, so a little too easy, I think. I'd like things to be a little bit more difficult. But I would love your feedback, guys. If you're like enjoying, do you like getting more questions right? That's a question I'd like you to answer in the chat.
Psychologically, absolutely.
Yeah.
Stroke the ego, baby.
But don't forget, Ian.
That's Evan.
No, I'm talking to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he went right by me.
Ian, don't forget that we got to really think about the reporting too. Do we want to update the reporting at all for like if we're going to have a leaderboard, we have to have a leaderboard page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do that also for the live stream so we could like switch to it so everybody can see it and it'll be more visually impressive. Somebody in the chat was asking, so there was 4 players for the SGU and only 80%. So Jay, did you answer incorrectly your own quiz?
No,
I got 2 wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wait,
But it
but
said
just
players
to be fair, every once in a while I get one of the questions wrong, even though I wrote the quiz. I know that might sound insane to you, but
Yes.
it's partly because I live in a sleep deprived reality. And the other thing is I frequently mess around with the buttons when we're playing. Like I'll click the buttons to entertain myself over and over again, like in a circle or whatever, kind of like, you know, like a 4-year-old would do.
Oh, so you,
And sometimes it lands on the wrong one. I'm like, okay, I got that one. I don't really care. I won't
so
do
it's
that.
not it's not accurate. Okay.
No, but
You're screwing up our percentage, Jay.
But just so you know, guys, the SGU is not going to write. I really don't want us to write any of the quizzes for the 12-hour show. I want them all to be external quizzes.
The 12-hour
that way-
show is for everyone, by the way. Somebody asked that.
Yeah, it's not just for
Right,
patrons.
not
open to
patrons
the
only.
public,
Correct.
It's a thank you to our patrons, and we will try to honor our patrons during the 12 hours. But it's open.
And
to
if
the
you're not a
public.
patron, it's a perfect time to sign up. I mean, really.
And there may be special things just for the patrons. For
Yeah.
instance,
You know what
maybe
else is a
Young
really good
World.
time to sign up, Evan?
Tell me, Steve.
right now,
Right now.
So
You remember what that's from, Evan?
Oh, the Peter Popoff?
Peter Popoff with Randy. That joke.
Right now, Jesus.
so
We've all seen that video, right?
know,
They showed it
yeah.
on the Johnny Carson. His
Hilarious.
Take it down. Oh my gosh.
Ian was doing some internet searching yesterday, and he found
Easy.
out that we are almost in the top 50 of Patreon podcasts when it comes to number of patrons.
Really?
Wait.
Yes.
Of all podcasts, all genres?
All podcasts on Patreon.
Just on Patreon.
On
not-
Patreon. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yes, of course.
So,
And one of the only science podcasts.
yeah, that was a key thing. I mean, in a time when the world needs science and critical thinking, I mean, we're here. We're still here.
So what you're
after-
saying is, if our patrons want to become the best patrons in the world,
Correct.
we need more of them to sign up.
Correct. And
Uber
we only need
patrons.
like 12. Honestly, we need 12 to displace the 50th spot, I believe.
Right. But then we
Oh
got to
my
get
gosh,
into,
that
then
could
we got-
happen like
It can
Now?
happen right now
It
if
can
you
happen
click
right
the
now.
link in the chat.
Then we got to get to 40 and then to 30. What
What
would it take to be number 1?
A lot. So, true
forget it.
crimes is a very popular genre, and they're currently on the top, and they're about 16,000 patrons, I think. I
Oh,
can't remember.
Totally reachable.
Doesn't
Ooh, we can do
It's
that.
not. It's not. Yeah. It's not
doesn't
crazy.
Trap House, whatever, what are they called?
It's a trap house.
Yeah, Chapo.
Trap House?
They're the They just got overtaken by True Crime Obsessed.
Oh wow, I
Very-
gotta see that. They've been number 1 for a long time.
Yeah, they do very well, and they have an interesting. Oh, sorry, it's 37,000 patrons. So
Wow.
little
That's
bit.
still that's still less.
still
That's
doable.
fewer than our listeners.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
I mean, even if it
theoretically
was just
possible.
one.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So, and they're
That's
also
amazing.
the top podcast and top Patreon.
And if we get to 10,000, we do a 72-hour live show.
Somebody
Well,
in the
we do
chat-
have
Oh,
a
oops.
24-hour.
24.
All we need is what 5,000, Jay, or 5,500.
I don't even want to think about it. Please.
24-hour
24-hour show. That is an immediate heart racing thought for me of
And
producing
Bob and I
a
got
show.
this. Bob and I got this.
Yeah, we got it,
24
guys.
hours of
We're good.
content.
Well, 12 of those hours.
How did
is
we do it?
Day shipping shirts, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
Gosh, I remember after our 24
All right. What about
hour
number
show-
10? Somebody wants to know about number
Oh, yeah,
10.
10.
What's
10.
number 10, Evan? Ian.
10th, not like number podcast.
Yeah. How many patrons for number 10?
16,000.
16,000. That's it.
Yeah.
To get to number 10, 16,000.
Yep. Not another D&D podcast. That's 17. You know, it's
Yeah.
all gas, no breaks. 19,000. So.
You know.
There is a podcast. Oh my God. Number 14. I'm not even going to say it. There's a very.
Yeah, they're
What the hell is that?
Is it an
You gotta
adult
say
themed?
now.
Adult themed?
Yes,
a lot of them are a
adult
little more
Racy.
rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say rude. In it.
How
Patron
awesome would it be to
X.
have skepticism in the top 10? I'm just saying.
There you go.
Yeah.
We could do it.
What?
Get us there. We got to get there.
Number 45 is called Dr. Pink Cake.
Dr. Pink Cake.
Dr. Pink Cake. I think,
And-
you know,
we
when I
should've
look,
what is
gone with
Dr.
that
Pink
name.
Cake a doctor of?
Well, don't look into that too deeply, please.
Oh, oops.
I think that it is, we live in a very awesome time of being a hobbyist or having an interest in something because of how much you can get plugged into a community.
Yeah.
I just think that's awesome. Like seeing that a particular podcast that is very specific in its content, all of those podcasts, and that they have people helping support their work because it's appreciated. Like that just didn't exist
Hmm
10 years ago. It was, you know, you'd have to have a membership. It was through the mail, you know, that's fantastic. I love it.
All right. Should we take questions?
Yes.
Sure.
Let's fix
So, a couple COVID items. I just saw a headline that someone famous was tested 4 times for coronavirus and had 2 positives and 2 negative tests. That would seem like a null outcome, but given the difference in false positive and false negatives rates, what does this outcome likely tell us?
Yeah. So this is Elon Musk. We just mentioned him. So you must be late to the stream. So it was the preliminary test. You know, the rapid test, which is not very reliable. So, which we already know. So it just confirms that, yeah, we know that that's not that reliable a test, but it's not the one that's being used to confirm the diagnosis, which is the much more accurate PCR test.
Somebody asked, Lee Marshley said, Naked Bob podcast. That kind of happened, right?
Naked Bob podcast. I mean, what the hell
How many
does that even
episodes
mean?
were? How many
What
episodes
does
were
that
there?
entail?
Jay, what was that intro? Was that intro was it for the 24-hour show? That intro?
No.
That's not a
Uh,
podcast, but yes, it was on that. It was the 24-hour intro.
Yes,
real.
Evan's right. It was the 24-hour podcast intro where each one of us got the red alert
A
Yeah.
segment. Yeah.
signal.
That was a
Yeah.
good. That was a good bit. That whole.
That
That
was
was
so
good.
much fun.
Steve's
Oh,
was really good. Doing 100 things at
Evan,
once.
yeah, doing
I loved
20
all
things
of
at
them.
once.
I think all of them came out very good. But Evans, your kung fu outfit was so freaking cool. Shooting Bob's-
Put it in the queue for the 12-hour. Let's replay it at
That-
some point.
Yeah,
That
we
video,
should-
it's-
I'd love to do a new one.
It's on
But-
YouTube. It's on it's on YouTube. You want to see my butt? It's there.
Steve, I would do it, but COVID, man.
you know.
You know what I mean? Like, how are we gonna?
We'll do a
Virtual one.
Zoom version.
Filmmaking is intimate. Yeah. So, but the bathtub one that we did with Bob, we needed a sizable crew in the bathroom to pull that off because of all the moving parts. I mean, I think we had like 6 people in like right there, doing all sorts of different things to make that come off, which was really cool.
That was fun.
It was fun.
You had to engineer my breakaway costume in a way. I remember it was like putting on 5 different pieces of clothing, each with their own tethered to it, and it exploded off of me simultaneously, which came out really good.
It worked the first time. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm one take Evan. So
no, I mean the ripping of the clothes like that. Your face and your body. I wasn't worried about you. I was worried about like one arm staying on. You know what I mean? Like
right. Yeah, it has to all work or not. Yeah, right. Now we know what George Lucas went through.
The Naked Bob podcast. I'll have to think about this one.
All right, let's talk.
It's available on onlyskeptics.com.
Next question.
Moving on. So this one's for Steve. What is the feeling in your hospital? Is there exhaustion of staff at this point? Are you worried about staff availability?
No.
Going into lockdown?
No.
Yeah.
We're doing good. I mean, everyone's doing their job. We're just plowing through. Again, we're doing really well at protocol at keeping hospital workers from getting sick. So we pretty much have it locked down. This is just our job now at this point. So I'm not really worried about that.
Any protective gear shortages or any kind of shortages you're experiencing?
No PPE shortage.
That's good.
No, we're good. The protocol is very, very tight. We have better, those throwaway gowns you put on to walk into a room. They have better ones now. Like more, they're not going for the cheapest. They're actually going for a slightly higher
they have
end
pearls
gowns.
And knitting. And
well, they have like actual like tight like elastic around the wrists and everything. And again, the new rule that's new since last time I did it was you have to wear eye protection with any patient care. So I got my goggles. That's it. We're doing fine.
Next question. Do you guys expect this election to be a major conspiracy theory going forward, like at the level of JFK assassination or the Twin Towers inside job?
Not JFK assassination, but I would say yes to some degree. I think there's going to be a subset. Like if you surveyed people a year from now, I bet you half of Republicans will say, that this election was not legit. Something like that. Totally. There's no reason to think they're going to change now, right? I mean, this is...
Yeah.
And my understanding is that there's, even after the election, after the electors, after a new president is sworn in, there still is a deeper analysis of the vote. It doesn't stop. It does continue to be studied and researched, and slight modifications do get made, I think, in some cases, years later. So it's not like they're just going to put it away in a closet and be done with this. They'll weed out all of that stuff, right? That would otherwise lead you to believe that it was somehow tainted or inaccurate or something. They'll either find it or they'll say, or they'll show you that it didn't happen, that there wasn't that contamination.
Yeah. But again, there's no plausible way that, you think about it, millions of votes would have had to be systematically faked in order to throw this election. There's just no possibility for that to happen. Yeah. There's no way it could happen. Go ahead.
A couple of people were asking about your most recent Neurologica post, and along those lines, somebody was asking, do you think the U.S. will invest more in science research post 2020 for a long?
What's my most recent one? Is that the energy
Biden
one?
Climate change? Yeah, I think that's one.
Yeah, so I keep, every time there's a new news item about this, I usually will write about it and sort of re-summarize where I'm at. The question is, because Biden, now that he's President-elect Biden, and he says he wants to have our energy infrastructure zero carbon by 2035, and and America be carbon neutral by 2050. And the question is that feasible, and how are we going to get there?
Well, unless nuclear is part of your plan, I don't see it.
Yeah, that was what I concluded. So you have to think. So what's the pathway to get to zero carbon? Energy infrastructure, forget about other things like industry, to net zero. I think when they say net zero, they're probably including, all right, we're going to plant some trees and shit, and then that'll offset the not exactly zero energy production. But I mean, the bottom line is we have to be off fossil fuel. There's no way we're going to get anywhere near net zero energy production with fossil fuel. It's just not going to happen. So that's 15 years, phasing out fossil fuel in 15 years. That is very ambitious. Not technically impossible, but it's ambitious.
Right, because there's forces. Don't forget, there's plenty of forces pushing back against that.
Totally. I actually think it's not a bad idea to transition from coal to natural gas, because natural gas is much better. But that's got to be looked at as a very temporary stopgap, just to as quickly as possible get us off of coal.
Stepping stone, yeah.
Because coal's by far the worst. It's far the worst in every measure in terms of pollution, global climate change, and health. And also nuclear material. More nuclear material is released into the environment from burning coal than from the nuclear industry.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I knew nuclear had very limited emission, but
No,
I didn't know coal was worse. I didn't know coal was worse.
Because there's nuclear material in the crap that it throws up into the air. But anyway, so what would a 2035, 2040 zero carbon energy infrastructure look like? So you could imagine it's all renewable, but only if we have grid storage, and we don't know how we could have that much grid storage. And we'd need massive overproduction, and it starts to become increasingly unlikely. So probably, even under best case scenario, there's going to be 20 to 30% left over that we're not going to be able to really cover with renewables. And so the question is, what is that 20 to 30% going to be? And I think if you want net zero carbon, it's got to be nuclear. That's the only option. Yes, it takes a long time. So what we need to do is to maintain our existing infrastructure so that it doesn't go away in 10 years, right? Because right now, 20% of our energy is coming from nuclear. So we have to extend the lifetime of the existing power plants. And then we need to build small modular reactors, which you can do in 10 years. You can get a small modular reactor up and running in 10 years. The UK is doing it. They're planning on building 30 of them or something over the next 10, 15 years. So I think that is... that's probably the most plausible way. So Germany tried to go all renewable, and they failed.
Yeah.
Their carbon emissions have flatlined in the last 10 years. They've had to actually go back to some fossil fuel power generation because they couldn't do it. They just couldn't go all renewable. So. But then you think, all right, but what's our energy infrastructure going to look like by 2050, by 2080? The farther out you go, the less we could predict.
It becomes a broader range of ideas and
but
things.
Since he said this is our goal is net zero by 2035, that's 15 years. We absolutely could talk about how we could get there.
Sure.
I think that's pretty close to the consensus of expert opinion as well. Although there are still people who will say we can get there with all renewable, but they're assuming two things. They're assuming we're going to massively update the grid, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but it has to happen. And they're assuming we're going to have grid storage solution, which we can't assume.
Yeah.
And that the other point I make is that if we guess wrong, we can't go back and do it again. We've missed our window to avoid the worst outcomes from climate change.
Assured catastrophe.
So if we want to make the best chance possible that we avoid, blowing past 2C, temperature increase over pre-industrial levels, we have to really do everything, in my opinion. We can't just say, we're going to do this one thing, and if it doesn't work, we're effed. I don't think that's the way to go.
I'm sorry if you can hear Olivia yelling under the door. I suspect that dinner's ready, and she took that as her cue to bust into my office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't you if you were Olivia's age? Of course you would.
Of course.
Of course you would.
Oh, God. If anybody in my house growing up was doing anything behind a closed door that I thought was interesting, I would have been. I used to break into Steve's closet with a hanger, and I'd rip books off the shelf in his closet and pull them out underneath his closet so I could read his books. Yeah, it was bad.
Which I only kept you from getting to. It's not like I cared if you read my books. It's just that you would destroy and or lose them.
Yes.
If you didn't do that, if you read it and put it back, I wouldn't care.
I know, but don't forget, you're talking about a version of me that existed
Very
45
different.
years
a very
ago.
different
like
version
it's
of Jay
not-
Novella.
Yeah.
yeah, we had a lot of fun. We did some really nutty stuff, man.
Yeah. All right, what else
All
you
right,
got,
so-
Ian?
Guys,
Well, Bob, a couple people wanted to ask about your show and tell, if there is a show and tell today, or you
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
that's
that
We're
up.
ending
question.
the show and tell, right?
Yeah, the show and tell is canceled.
So
That segment is run its course.
Oh, okay.
But Bob has a new setup, so everyone look at it. Okay, next question. So one of my favorite quotes is from Carl Sagan. The cure for a fallacious argument is a better argument, not the suppression of ideas. In the wake of disinformation and fake news, is it still valid?
I mean, I think yes and no. So as a general principle, absolutely, that the way to respond to a bad opinion is with facts, with a better opinion, with free exchange of ideas. The problem is that we now know, I think intimately after 15 years of social media, is that you can weaponize that kind of open, unrestrained discourse to actually shut down the free exchange of ideas. It's not like the maximally free exchange of ideas is not zero rules in a totally open-ended form, with the ease that social media makes it to spread misinformation, to troll, to sea lion, to do all the things. So now basically we could allow a very small, tiny percentage of people can shut down a lot of exchange of ideas if they are given free rein. And they do so under the guise of free speech. And it's extremely counterproductive. So essentially we need to have an information exchange infrastructure that allows for as much free information exchange as possible while preventing the weaponization of the platform and of that exchange in order to actually be counterproductive and shut down information exchange.
So a lot of people are booing at our editorial, at our decision to not do the show and tell. So I mean, the reason why we're not doing it, Steve, right, is because we're transitioning this to making this available as audio.
Yeah, so exactly. We're making this available to patrons as an audio podcast for those who can't make the live stream, and so we're trying to weed out purely visual bits. And Bob, you've also basically said you've basically done all your good stuff. So it's kind of
there's not
course
I
anyway.
mean, I could have. Yeah, there's all my great stuff's already been displayed. But so what I did was I bought this room divider behind me, and it comes with these integrated shelves. So I'll be changing what's on the shelves behind me every week, put other cool little knickknacks here and there. I mean, we won't really talk about it, but you'll be able to see, some interesting things behind me, like the Scandinavian troll right there. That's been in my family. You guys would probably remember that.
I remember it from being a little
from
child.
40, literally 40 years ago, and I grabbed that.
More like 50.
And made it mine. The thing, I just love that. So yeah, you'll see cool stuff behind me. You may notice a couple things that are pretty interesting back there. You may have to zoom in, but yeah, so that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Zoom it.
One more question.
Okay, let's see.
Show what's your bad stuff.
What is your current
No,
view
just to
on
clarify,
shutdown?
by the way, I'm just reading the comments. We will still do a video live stream, but
Right.
because we're making it available as audio only, we want to make sure that we're not doing too many bits that are purely video. Does that make
Yes.
sense? But yes, if you join the live stream itself, still going to be video.
The audio only is additional. And it
It's
will
just
be for
additional,
patrons.
right? It'll be separately available for people who can't make the live stream. Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ian.
Good. So it was, what is your current view? Shutdowns, total versus targeted, regional, or certain types of businesses shut and certain types only, close restaurants, keep schools open? These are all questions.
How much should we shut down is a moving target. I think that
Yeah.
does have to be decided locally, based upon how much of the virus is surging in any state. And there's a whole range of things you could do, which you mentioned a lot of them. It's not all or nothing. So I just think that we need to do however much of a shutdown is necessary based upon the evidence to minimize the spread of the virus, while minimizing obviously the inconvenience and damage to the economy. So it's a risk versus benefit. But at this point, we pretty much know what has to be done. It's pretty easy to say no indoor restaurants and no gatherings more than this many people, 50 people, maybe now 10 people, whatever. There's different levels of shutdown that we need to do. Because, you know, now we're in the middle of the consequences of not doing it, right? We are having a massive surge, and it's absolutely 100% because people stopped being compliant with the social distancing, mask wearing, and not getting together. A local
Not true of
college
medicine in a broad sense, Steve. Like non-compliance in the medical world.
It's a big problem.
By people is an enormous problem.
It's a huge problem. Like often tell the residents, what's the number one cause of somebody coming into the emergency room with a seizure? It's non-compliance with their medication. That's like almost always the answer.
People being people.
A college near here just had an event where they had 500 students without masks in close proximity at a party. What the hell were they thinking of? It's like just like they think that they're acting as if the pandemic is over. A lot of those students were sent home.
So dangerous.
You know, and I mean, just crazy time, just crazy. So it's 100% pandemic fatigue, and we just have to go.
I upped my people not wearing masks or not wearing masks correctly response.
Yeah.
So it's actually very easy to deal with when you're with someone. Like today, my wife and I went to the store together. And I saw two people who were wearing their mask, you know, right below their nose.
Hate that.
And I said very loudly, I go, Court, stay away from that person. They don't know how to wear a mask. And I, said it in their direction. You know, fuck them, right? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Sorry, you know, move the cloth up another inch and save some lives. You know, like when I see that, I just think you just don't give a shit, do you? You know?
No, just don't give a shit.
Yep.
I mean, look at the numbers. You just stop paying attention. 140,000 new cases a day. I mean, it is surging
beyond the pale.
We have to suck it up and just say, okay, fuck, we got to go back to just, you know, being really, really careful and
but why does it take
get a control on this?
You know, like, do we really have to call these people out in public? Like, is that what it's going to take? You know, like, I just hate that. It's like, you know, just do the bare minimum. How long are you in the supermarket? Seriously.
Yeah. I know.
You know, whatever. We got to share the burden of fixing all of this. I think all of us have to work hard and keep supporting each other. And you know, like I say, you got to treat each other well. You got to treat each other well. You know, the word.
But treating each other well includes wearing your mask.
Right. Yes. Including protecting other people.
Exactly.
Help your fellow people. Help them.
All right, guys, we're shutting this one down. We have done yet another live stream.
Oh, it's a shutdown.
Hey, we got a number of people became patrons just now. Guys, thank you so much. All of your support directly goes to us expanding what we do. I have a dream. I can't even say the dream that I have, but I have a dream of what the future could hold for us. Yes, you know, overeating is a part of it, but that is not the actual dream I'm talking about in full. But yeah, there's lots of things that we have plans for, and you could even see you could see a lot of that on the on our patron page if you're interested. What will we do at certain levels of patronage? But other things come with that. So the more patrons we get, the more people can be involved in working for the SGU full time, as an example. You know, Ian had a baby. Ian's got to feed that baby. You know, I'm trying to help him as much as I can. So,
yeah, she seems to like that.
Guys, thank you so much. Evan, I love the puzzle. I really enjoy your puzzles.
Thank you. A few comments that people are asking, like the puzzle, is it still going to be a segment going forward? I wasn't told otherwise.
Yeah,
so yes,
I will
what
continue.
we said, Evan, is that you need to be able to describe your puzzle so that somebody listening will get it.
I got you. I can definitely modulate accordingly.
Yeah. Just think about how it would play.
I should talk about it. We might be able to, I don't know. I want to know how many images we could attach to a podcast. We got to talk more about this, or to, you know, I'm interested to know what the latest and greatest technology has to offer when it comes to that, because it could be like if you took a picture of each one of those, Ev, I might be able to share it with people who are listening so they can see it.
And I actually have been archiving all of them. I do have a picture.
Post it on the audio only format on Patreon.
Yeah.
Do that.
It's a good idea.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy your dinners.
Thanks, everyone.
Sleep
Lots
well.
of hand sanitizer. And
Good night, everyone. Stay
masks.
safe.
Wash
Bye,
your
guys. Good
hands.
weekend.
And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is produced by SGU Productions, dedicated to promoting science and critical thinking. For more information, visit us at theskepticsguide.org. Send your questions to info@theskepticsguide.org. And if you would like to support the show and all the work that we do, go to patreon.com/skepticsguide and consider becoming a patron and becoming part of the SGU community. Our listeners and supporters are what make SGU possible.